Hello, my name's Ben.
And my name is Josh.
And welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another Game Week preview. We're previewing Game Week 10, and it could be a big one for both the graduates, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be huge. I'm so excited for it. We've got double wildcards, haven't we, Ben? How mental is that? It's like we planned it. It's like we planned it.
Yeah, there's some sort of collusion that must be going on behind the scenes because, it doesn't happen often where we're the same strategy almost going into these weeks. Usually one of us will wildcard a bit earlier than the other. But I felt like after seeing, not wanting to miss out on some of them premium defenders, I'm thinking, hang on, I need to make that decision. Loads of players, yellow flag. What better time is it to do it? And talking of the colour yellow, that is the theme of our guest this week.
It is indeed. We've got FPL Yellow Army on, aka Roberto, an FPL juicer. Welcome to the stream, mate.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it, guys.
No worries. So we'll just go over a bit of backgrounds, like what you do in the FPL community, who you support, all that good stuff. So yeah, fire away, mate.
Well, as you could probably guess with my shirt, I am a Watford fan. I basically, produce content for FPL Juice on YouTube, and basically I'm their club expert reporter. So I do a rundown of the best options each game week and some differentials, and then ultimately what I think the score will finish as. So it's really great fun, and I often appear on the Juice Bar. We did one on the Tuesday night, so that was really good fun. But it's basically, just providing my predicted lineup. I often do that on Twitter, and kind of giving up my best team news in terms of any outgoings or injuries, really.
That's good stuff. Good to hear, it. So obviously when Watford's getting a bit of a better run, he's your man to go and look at when you need to see if Ishmael Sarr's going to be starting,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, there's a couple of decent assets in that Watford team. And I mean, when they get on a good run of fixtures, this is your go-to man for all your Watford news, your Watford rumours, everything Watford, FPL. He is your man. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to just jump straight in to our FPL teams this week, because I know you guys are dying to see our wildcards. We're going to go for Josh's team first. Josh, do you have your team ready and set up to go?
Yeah, let's get cracking, shall we? So here's the team. I've posted on TikTok as well. A few people probably already seen it. It's been live on FPL Juice. It's changed a bit from then, I must have to say. So obviously Foster starting in goal. I've got Sanchez on the bench, but for this week, I feel like, especially with Broher, he's apparently rumoured to be out. I think a clean sheet could be more likely than Sanchez getting save points against Liverpool, is my thought process. It could change, though. It's obviously very early doors. We're only on Thursday evening now, so we've got until the Saturday lunchtime deadline. I've gone double Liverpool defence. So obviously, Trent's coming back in. I've missed him so much since taking him out for injury, so he's coming back. Van Dijk, a lot of people saying, oh, why are you going Van Dijk and stuff? I think it just saves me, the headache of guessing who's going to play for Chelsea or City every week. That all these defences are probably as good as each other realistically. And also, he's got the same amount of attack and returns as Robertson so far this season. So I feel like Van Dijk's quite lethal from corners and stuff like that. Robertson's not really played to his full potential going forward. That's probably due to Mo Salah, in my opinion. So, I'm happy to keep Van Dijk in there. 6.6, not too bad. Gone for Reece James. I know he played 90 minutes in the Carabao Cup, but Reece James yet to concede a goal in the Premier League so far this season, which is a pretty good stat to have to his name. Newcastle away, and then they have, I think, Burnley after that. So Chelsea looking good fixture-wise. Gone with Cancelo, he's played every single game so far this season for City. So watch him get benched on Saturday or Sunday whenever they play. That'll be guaranteed wildcard luck. Salah captain, of course. Just unbelievable right now. He's tearing everyone apart. So you got to have him in. Gone with Phil Foden. I think he just looks really good at the minute. Obviously, 8.1 million, I think I had to bring him in for. He's rose a bit, but he's just looked so good in that false nine. You just feel like he can play anywhere in that City attack, and he just does well. So it's another good reason to hold on to him as well, because he can probably play in 5 positions, which is handy. Heung-min Son against United as well. Spurs go on that nice fixture turnaround game week 12. Obviously, getting him in a little bit earlier than that. He's scored goals against United in the past. I probably expect it to happen again. I'm a United fan, and I do not expect United to win against Spurs. Bernardo Silva as well. Gone for a triple City, which is mind-boggling because Pep's going to so screw me over. But £7 million, Bernardo Silva. If we have a look at his history right now, he's played 90 minutes the last 4 games. Realistically, like last 6 games, he's played pretty much the full game. He's played a lot of games this season. Obviously, he was rumoured to be leaving. I think Guardiola's trying to keep him happy, give him a lot more minutes. So obviously, De Bruyne is coming back from that injuries, getting a bit of rotation. So I feel like he's a good option. 7 million as well. If he does get rotated, I'm not too bothered because it's only 7 million. Whereas if it was De Bruyne at like 12 million, you're going to be a lot more hard done by with all that money on the bench. Up top, we've gone for even Tony with that Brentford fixture run. It's looking tasty right now. Hopefully, he can score some more goals against the lower-rated opposition. Gone for Iheanacho as a little cheeky punt as well. I'm loving Leicester right now since they switched back to that two-up-front formation. Fixtures-wise, they're looking quite decent as well. Arsenal and Leeds, I don't think they're too bad. Chelsea's a tough one, but then they face Watford, Southampton, Aston Villa and Newcastle. Gone for him over Daka because obviously Vardy is back fit, apparently. I just can't see them fielding Daka and Vardy, but who knows? We'll see. And then on the bench, we've got Sanchez, as I mentioned, and Mbuemo as well, going for double Brentford at the minute. Their fixtures just look so good, and they're one of the best attacking teams in the league at the minute in the last 4 game weeks. Livramento, of course, the 6 million, 4 million defender, as I like to call him. And then Keenan Davis just makes it the numbers on the bench. So, yeah, roast my wild card, lads. Let's see what we have it.
I've got to be honest, I've come on here thinking, yeah, I can definitely pick holes in it. But honestly, it looks really strong. I think there's a really good base to it. Certainly your midfield, to see that it's kind of a premium midfield, but you've also got a premium defence. So I think other than maybe Iheanacho, where we know that Vardy's back, will maybe Brendan Rodgers start Daka and Vardy? I'm not sure, but he has been looking good recently, Iheanacho. So I think ultimately there's not a lot wrong with that team.
What do you think, Ben?
I've been in your position before, the City asset, so I know how it feels.
We all love.
for me, I feel as though investing so much in the City players, well, a triple up is too much for me. I think a double up would definitely be sufficient, but of course, if you want to risk it, then the ceiling is super high with that. Because obviously, if City batter a team, whoever's playing is going to get loads of points no matter what. So you could put yourself in a better sort of position to get those points, make them more accessible to you. The Iheanacho sort of punt, I like it. I like that you've gone for a Leicester player, which is maybe what my team is missing at the moment in terms of what I'm looking at my wild card. But it's difficult to work out, who you want in other than Vardy, like who you think is going to provide the returns. Because with this Leicester team, we've seen them be a little bit inconsistent at the start of the season. But yeah, very strong team. And you can definitely see, as I think you will, I'll show my team next, that there is definitely a big template and a few of the players might be a little bit similar.
Right, go on then. Let's bring yours up as well. We'll get the 2 wildcards out of the way. It's so interesting actually, like building a team, because I feel like there's not a lot of strikers that I actually want to put in my team. Hence why I've gone with only 2 up top. There's just no one scoring goals up front in a minute.
Yeah, so this is what my team is looking like.
5 back. Cool.
I'll talk about why it's a 5 back in a second. But in goal, we've gone the same situation. We've gone Foster and we've got Sanchez. Obviously, Sanchez, he's been the standout goalkeeper option. He got 4 points against Manchester City. He's getting save points here and there. Foster, like that price point, yes, we'll take him. Watford player, cycling GK, you've got to have him in. So I don't mind that at all. In defence, I've gone maybe a little bit different, and I've kind of gone the Chelsea double up rather than the Liverpool double up, which Josh has gone for. And I've gone for the different fullback as well. I've gone for Chilwell and Rudiger. The reason I've gone for both of them is I've gone for Chilwell for the high ceiling with the added risk maybe of him being benched, but obviously in his last 4 Premier League games, he's scored attacking returns. So we can expect him, when he's playing on the pitch, to be getting those returns. And it's a really nice fixture at the weekend. And I believe he got 45 minutes or so in that fixture midweek. So there's always that possibility that he will start. We've gone Rudiger as well, because I think he's the most nailed Chelsea defender in that team. And I want a Chelsea defender to be playing every week minimum in my team. Before I had Christensen and Aspi, and you know how it went last week. They both didn't play, and that was a risk that I was playing with. Here, I'm not quite taking that risk as much. João Cancelo, I think he's probably one of the standout City players at the moment to own. He's looking fantastic, getting attacking returns. And since, that left-back spot has freed up a little bit with Zinchenko, not really playing to the standard that Pep would expect from a starting player, it's there for Cancelo to take. And I think midweek, again, we saw Walker and Cancelo share minutes, which suggests to me they'll both start at the weekend. We brought Trent back in. I regretted not having him for the last sort of week or two, so to speak. I know, a certain Watford fan in the stream isn't going to be too happy with me saying that. And we've got Livramento in the team because I'm scared of benching the lad. He just seems like he's going to score every week now. He's a man on a mission to prove everyone wrong that he is the asset to own this season. I'm loving him. He's moving up in price very nicely as well. In midfield, we've gone Foden, Salah and Son as well. I think Foden on the form, you got to back him. I think Pep's really liking him at the moment, and there's no reason not to pick him. We've got Sonny in there as well because there's always that opportunity for him to score against Manchester United, who are looking a bit defensively dodgy. I think is an understatement to be said, as well as a fixture swing sort of game week 12 onwards. It's looking really tasty to own Heung-min Son right now. Even Tony up front. I mean, I've brought the lad back in after, he stunk up the place in my team for 4 weeks, brought him out, double-digit return. That's how it goes on FPL sometimes. And we've kept the faith in Mikel Antonio because despite the fixtures, and I know Josh has been banging on about the fixtures, Mikel Antonio, his minutes are being rested midweek and in Europe, and his primary focus is scoring goals in the Premier League, which I think he will do against anyone, as we've seen so far this season. He's scoring against good teams as well. And on the bench, we've currently got Rafinha. That could change based on if he's fit or not. Obviously, if he's not, that allows me to have a really strong bench player, as well as Damari Gray, who's on my bench right now, which is crazy. What a strong bench this is at the moment compared to pre-wildcard. And, obviously Sanchez as well there. But, yeah, that's my team. Go on. Let's pick some holes in it.
What I will say is, I think when I compare this to Josh's team, it feels much more safe, which actually could be a good thing. I think Bernardo Silva is a really exciting option, but you've gone big at the back. You've gone players you think will start and be nailed. And I think these are all players that will get points. I think Antonio is a really interesting one. A lot of people starting to lose patience with him, but I still think he's, in that price point at forward line, there's really not many better options. So I think that defense is looking really strong. I probably would say that's the best back five you could have in the game right now. And I think Foden, as you say, just as with Josh, Foden just looks too good to not own right now. So I really rate it. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying as well. I think Antonio is one of those where, he is just scores goals, doesn't he? He's proven it week in, week out. 8.1 million though. Just to think that I think the thing for me is that I owned him at 7.5, got rid of him when he got suspended. I was like, I'm not paying 8.1 million for him. I can't do it. It's silly, really, because he does score goals. But I think West Ham, they've got a lot of fixtures coming up. They're still in the Carabao Cup. They're still in Europa League. There's not a lot of rest. I know he will get rested midweek, but his hamstrings will blow up. They're a pending disaster, aren't they? We've seen it every year. So
wow,
yeah,
we've said that since game week 1. And to be fair, he's lasted 9 game weeks. So long may it continue. I mean, I think I've had him since game week 1 or game week 2, where I brought him in at that really cheap price point. So as Josh knows, I'm not willing to let go of that value just yet. Fantastic option, and really, really liking the team at the moment. Obviously, it could change before the deadline, but as things stand, I'm pretty happy. We'll see what the press conferences are saying, and should we move on to the last but by no means least, Roberto? Do you have your team ready to show us?
Yeah. Did you want me to share it?
If you could, yes.
Just the share at the bottom. It should be.
Yeah, no problem.
Simple.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel bad because we've pulled our wildcards out and you're just here it's another game week.
Yeah, it's another game week for the awful team. It's not too bad. It could be worse. All right, so this is my team. It's been better, but this was how I finished up in game week 9, and basically I had a stinker because I didn't captain Salah, so that was a bit of a nightmare. I mean, the team was looking at 4-5k rank, I think, after game week 8, and not captaining Salah, basically captain Kane in my -4 hit as I brought him in, it really did hurt me. So I had Antonio on the bench as well.
Oof.
Just backed the fixtures and backed the clean sheets to the defenders, and didn't really get them, but I got attacking returns. So yeah, it was certainly a game week I don't want to dwell on too much, but going into this game week, I've got a similar goalkeeper situation. I think there's a few good 4.5 options, and I've got Ramsdale actually. But to start this week, I'm going with Foster just because I think against Southampton, realistically, if we're going to get our first clean sheet of the season, although they have been doing quite well with Broja and Armstrong, Armstrong's not been playing recently. Broja is not 100% fully fit, and I think we defensively have been a mess. I'm not going to, play that down, but I think Foster's getting a lot of save points recently, and if there's any game, I think this kind of 6-pointer where Southampton are around us, that could be a game where Watford have at least a realistic chance. And then in the back four, I've got a bit of an issue because I actually did think about selling Azpilicueta, and I know that seems weird, but I kind of saw his injury and I thought, is that a good excuse to do it? Because I did think I wanted to bring in another Chelsea asset, and that was Reece James. I don't know if that's too much of a sideways move, really, but Azpilicueta did do well for me. I actually wildcarded game week 7 and brought him in that week, and obviously got the double assists. So, he's a good server of my team, but I'm not sure whether to axe him this soon. Now, Trent, of course, he's a loyal servant. He's not going anywhere. I think he's just one of those set and forget defenders. So he's in there for the Brighton fixture. The same as we've said before with Cancelo. I just think he's so attacking and such a good option. And Rudiger as well. Yeah, I think, like you say, he is the most nailed Chelsea option in defence. And he does pop up with the odd attacking return, as we saw last week against Norwich. So I'm just going to back it and be plain and simple with that back four. And if Azpilicueta doesn't play, then you've already mentioned him, the legend that is Livramento. And I'm backing like a tight Watford game. So Livramento could easily score in that game. But I think if we're going to get a clean sheet, then maybe Livramento doesn't do much. I don't know. It's a tough one, really. But in midfield, I've gone with Saka. Now, this was probably a mistake from me. After game week 7, I had a bit of a dodgy team and I wanted to get rid of Benrahma. And basically got in Saka ahead of Smith Rowe for game week 8, which was, now I look back at it, a really annoying 50-50 that just doesn't go your way. But I still think Saka's a decent option if he can just convert a few more chances. And Rafinha, of course, is still a bit of a doubt, but if he's fit, then you got to back him to go hopefully get something in that Norwich game. And a similar front two as well with Tony and Antonio we've discussed already. But Harry Kane, I know a lot of people are going on the Son train right now, and I say fair enough. But I went with Harry Kane because I had to get Lukaku out last game week. So he didn't do anything against West Ham as captain. But yeah, as you mentioned, Man United's defence recently have been really poor. So I'm hoping this is the kind of game that Kane can turn up. And then Gallagher on the bench just because of the fixture, and then Douglas Luiz. So yeah, that's my team basically.
Yeah, it looks good, mate. To be considering you're not wildcarded, I think you've got a lot of players in there that people are wildcarding too, like myself and Ben. Like that back four is very solid. I think Kane is going to be interesting because I can see him scoring. Like he's a goal scorer. He's top goal scorer and assister last season. So it's only a matter of time, I think, before he does start getting those shooting boots on. And yeah, the rest of it, I think that Saka pick, just very unlucky. Like he had an open goal that he missed in that game against Villa, didn't he? So just one of those swings and roundabouts. You're going to get them all the time in FPL. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I like this team, to be fair. I'm not as sure on Kane as Josh is, just based on, what I've seen so far this season. But obviously, he can always pop up with a goal at any given moment, really. And yeah, like Josh said, that defence is really, really strong. And definitely probably your strongest point of that team. I really do like the picks. Obviously that Saka one's so annoying, but you've been unlucky that he hasn't returned more than he has already. But yeah, overall good team, solid team. Good news coming out of the Chelsea camp that Azpilicueta trained today, so there's a lot of benefits, and I guess you now got to see for the press conferences where you need to make your moves. But yeah, very solid team, strong bench as well.
Thank you. No worries. Great. I'll just stop sharing there.
Wicked. Here we go, Ben. Here we go.
It's time.
So
it's time.
Go on. I would
No,
say the
you go
rules.
on. You go on. You explain the rules.
I'm too excited, Ben. Come on. So here we are. So let's test our guest. You're going to have 60 seconds, Roberto, to answer as many FPL-related questions about Watford as well. A little mixture. Ben's been throwing a lot of curveballs this season. I think our highest score still is 4. So in 60 seconds, last season, to put that in comparison, people were getting like 12 and 13. It was crazy sort of numbers, weren't it, Ben?
Yeah, I was running out of questions. So hopefully we don't run out of questions today.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah,
honestly.
if you think you know the answer in the comments, guys, make sure to leave it there. We've got Josh on the timer. 3, 2, 1. Which Watford asset has the most FPL points so far this season?
Ismail Assar.
Correct. In game week 9, which Watford player scored the most FPL points?
Joshua King.
Correct. Who was the only Watford defender to register more than 1 point in game week 9?
Ooh, Craig Cathcart.
Correct. Who is Watford's top assister so far in the Premier League?
I want to say Emmanuel Dennis.
Correct. How many clean sheets have Watford kept in the Premier League so far this season?
0.
Correct. Who has received the most bookings for Watford in the league this season?
Emmanuel Dennis.
Correct. Who is the most owned Watford FPL asset?
Ismail Assar.
Ben Foster. What price is Danny Rose on FPL?
Danny Rose is 4.2.
4.3. As of today, who is the most transferred in player for game week 10 overall?
Mason Mount.
Correct.
Boom, 7. He's got
Wow.
the very highest score. He's rattling through them. That's why he's the FPL juicer for Watford. He just knows his stuff.
The knowledge comes out.
It's just there. It's there. So 7, I'm not going to lie, that's going to be a tough one to beat, I think, for this season. Don't you think, Ben?
Wow, yeah. I think it's a confidence thing with a lot of people. Like, if you get the first couple right, you can just start going through them. And wow, fair play to you. FPL Juice as well. They picked the right juicer for this one because he knows his stuff about Watford.
He does indeed. That's an unreal showing from you. So now is it time for it's another different segment, isn't it? So if you don't know already, you probably follow us on Instagram and Twitter. You'd have seen it. We are co-running with the FPLFA, an FPL Graduates Cup. So I'm not sure where Ben's gone, but I'm sure he'll be back. But yeah, so we've got a round of 16 draw coming up now. So Ben's got to do it because he got knocked out and I actually remained in it. So he's going to be doing the draw for us.
All right, leave it out.
You've gone a bit like you sound like you're in a fish tank, Ben, mate. Is that better? Speak? Hello?
Is it better?
Yeah. There we go. There we go.
Sorry, apologies. So I've hopefully the guys over at FPLFA they're watching because I've done it in the bucket hat. So we will start the draw ASAP. So the first name out the hat. I hope you guys will be able to see it. It might be the wrong way around, but that says Richard Cordron. Sorry if I get the names wrong, but Richard Cordron is the first out the hat, and he will be playing against Aidan Williams. As you can see there. So that is the first fixture done. The second one is Josh Greasel.
Oh, nearly me.
Nearly you. And he will be playing against Ollie Lear.
Oof. I heard Josh Greasel won the cup last season, the first ever cup.
Oh, so that's big competition.
He's got some history, yeah.
Right, the next one is Theo Adams. As you can see there, is playing against Joshua Scott.
Hey,
there he is. There he is. Big fixture for the FPL graduates. He's flying the flag. Away days with Josh. The next one is Will Easton. And he is playing against Rex Budd.
What a name, by the way.
That is a great name. There are some cracking names in this draw, has to be said. Next fixture is Izzy Vittoria.
What a name, by the way.
Playing against Henri Gunder. That is a cracking name.
I don't even know how to spell that one.
Next fixture here. Kyler van der Toorn.
Cracking name again.
I apologise if I'm getting the names wrong. Pronunciation's not my best thing. It's playing against Zach Norris. I think I pronounced that one right. Next fixture is Harry Clayton.
Ooh.
There we go. I think we know Harry, don't we, Josh?
Yeah, we do indeed.
Playing against KT Yeo. And the final fixture, if I've got it all right, is going to be Ben Walker. And he will be playing against the final name in the hat, Sam Sheppy. There you go.
Nice. There's the draw, the round of 16 draws there. It's all in the comments. I just typed it all up. So yeah, make sure you come over. Check out FPLFA as well. They do leagues. They're going to do another cup competition as well. Any questions, just message us on Insta and we'll get back to you as well. We've got Kieran Rance in the house as well. Content Creators Cup captain. Oh, it's getting tasty.
Yeah, I mean, you know, tomorrow, me and Josh getting onto the field down at Ashford United FC for a Content Creators Cup match. It is Team TikTok against Team YouTube. I know we're on YouTube at the moment, but we are Team TikTok all the way, baby.
Yeah, just evading into the dark side a little bit today. So, yeah, I think for me and Ben, we might get suffer a bit of pep roulette tomorrow. Who knows? You know,
yeah,
we'll have to wait and see.
But, you know, there's always that impact off the bench. Josh is known to be flying down the wings like a João Cancelo. And I do have the impact of Rafinha, some may say.
I forgot we were on Top Gear then, by the way. So that was good. But yeah, we'll move on after these little, I don't know, it was like an ad break that was, wasn't it? It was awesome.
It pretty much was, yeah.
So yeah, we'll move on. We'll talk a little bit about Game Week 10. We'll talk about some stats as well. So I'll pull up some stats and I'll ask a question to you, Roberto. Is there anyone who's like, if you was on a wild card right now, is there anyone that stands out to you and you think, right, he needs to be in my team?
Well, I know this is going to be a controversial one because not a lot of people are going to back it, but Callum Wilson, I think, is in fantastic form. 4 goals in the last 5 game weeks and obviously did come back from injury. But honestly, he looks like he's the only really Newcastle threat right now. And he might be playing Chelsea, but you got to look long term, I think, as well. And Wilson is just getting shots in the box. He doesn't need that many chances to score. So his conversion rate is really, really impressive. And he's just the main man in that Newcastle team. So everything goes to him. And Javier Manquillo has been whipping in the crosses recently. That's a perfect combination for Callum Wilson. And I think, yeah, he's just one that's going under the radar a little bit.
I really like that pick. I think Callum Wilson always, it's just because injuries, I feel like, because he gets like in a running like vein of form, he'll get injured and then you can't bring him in. It is quite tough. I think for me, obviously I had Bernardo in my draft at the minute. He might not be there come the end of it, but in the top 20 for non-penalty XG, he's coming up 18th against everyone in the league, which I think is really quite good for someone who a lot of people would suggest that he's just not playing that many minutes, but 521 minutes, that's 19 less minutes than Salah. You know, I think like for someone if you're trying to get nailed into that City midfield, I think right now, mark my words, he'll get benched at the weekend. He's probably one of your ones to go for. Who's ticking your boxes, Ben? Who are you looking at?
I mean, Phil Foden's obviously one. It's interesting to see that Ismail Sarr is still like right up there. I know Watford have some tough fixtures, but as Roberto mentioned on FPL Juice, that Watford they've been playing better on the counter attack recently. We saw that against Everton. We see that they can sting teams, and you know Sarr could be one to get start creating things, getting on the end of things, and he's a very, very dangerous player. So it's definitely one to keep an eye on. The fixture swing is there, but he's a player that might not be affected by sort of fixture difficulty.
Yeah, 100%. I'd also like to mention, just for you, Roberto, that there's 2 Watford players in the top 6, and everyone's writing them off. So what do you think about that, Roberto? Josh King and Sarr, would they be in your team anytime soon?
I mean, I've had Josh King in my draft team there's a FPL draft game. Yeah. But for FPL, I haven't gone there just because of the fixtures. But I remember I had Sarr at the start of the season. He's one of those players who you've got to be patient, because you know that most weeks he probably will blank, but then he'll have a couple of weeks where he just maybe ticks along with a 5-pointer, and then bam, is like a 16-pointer or a 13-pointer, and he's really explosive. So yeah, the fixtures aren't exactly ideal, but I could definitely see Sarr scoring against Southampton, and then it's whether you're willing to bench him really through those tough fixtures.
Yeah, I had him for his, I can't remember who it was against now, but his massive haul, I think it was like 15 points.
Yeah, Norwich City, I think that.
That was it. Yeah. So unbelievable from like him. It was awesome. I was in a conference meeting and I was just seeing the scores coming through. I was just like, come on, man. I was just like, it's a green arrow already. It's unbelievable. But yeah, we'll look at the fixture ticker. I've gone for 8 game weeks. Obviously, me and Ben playing our wild card. You've got to look a little bit longer term than usual. Is there anyone that stands out to you there, Ben? As like hang on a minute, why am I not looking at any of these guys' assets?
I mean, the fact that Burnley have got the 3rd best fixtures in the league for the next 8 game weeks is bizarre to me. Obviously, there's a couple of decent assets in there that have started looking quite good. Maxwell Cornet is kind of one that stands out to me at 6 million. That's quite a cheap price point. And he's a player that could obviously get attacking returns. He's kind of almost like Burnley's flair player, if you so will. And yeah, I think he could definitely be a good option. Obviously, Leicester are up there as well in terms of fixture difficulty. And that's someone who's like a team that I haven't included in my wild card yet. Obviously, they've got some really good attacking players. And if you can get it right between Iheanacho and Daka, I think you're looking good.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think just to touch on Cornet, similar to Sarr in a way where there will be weeks where he picks up little to no points. But as we saw last game week, 2 goals. He's been playing up front with Wood at times. I think he's a really interesting option. Obviously, played at Lyon before Burnley, where he ripped it up. You see him scoring against City in the Champions League. So he's a good player. And I'm surprised he actually went to Burnley. No offense to Burnley fans, because he's a decent little winger. What's your thoughts on Cornet, Roberto? Do you think he's in with a shout in that like 6 million midfield bracket?
Well, when I saw him come in for Burnley, I was like, that's an amazing transfer, because it's not a typical Burnley player that we see there with Cornet, but he does have flair. He does look to take on, and as you say, kind of play that second striker almost in behind Wood. So I think he's a really good asset that a lot of people will just look at Burnley and think, oh, I can't bring in a Burnley player into my team. But actually, he looks like he could really be good value for his price of 6 million. So I think he's one to watch. Certainly, let's see if he can keep his form going. But certainly with better fixtures, once we see that kind of Chelsea game maybe finished, you could see some points against someone like Crystal Palace. So yeah, it's definitely one to sleep on, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And there's one thing to mention as well before we move on to the next part. Man City, Liverpool and Chelsea, they don't face each other for the next 10 game weeks. How insane is that? So it's almost like, other than United, obviously it's hard to tell with them right now whether they're going to even wake up in the morning and play football. But yeah, I think that's the toughest fixture that they have on paper. It's just great to see, like with those triple ups at the back where we have Liverpool, City and Chelsea, if you can nail down the right player, I think you're looking good for the foreseeable future, aren't you, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting for FPL managers. I think in general that, you know, we've got some really good fixtures for the big teams coming up, and they're kind of avoiding each other, so to speak, in the sort of next 10 game weeks. So, you know, it's always exciting when some tasty fixtures pop up and you can kind of get the players in from the big teams.
Yeah, defo. So we'll move on now. Are we going to go on to some questions, Ben?
Yeah, we're going to move on to the final segment. So we're going to take 5 minutes of questions from you guys in the comments. So if you have any questions, make sure to leave it in the comment section. Glenn coming in there with the comment, how's this draw handled better than the Champions League? Well,
it's that bucket hat, mate.
It's the bucket hat. It does things differently.
Yeah.
David as well, part of the FPLFA, saying thank you for hosting. No worries, mate. We appreciate you for asking us, to be fair. We'll move on to the FPL questions now. Roberto, here is your first one. Should I sell Vardy, Armstrong or Christensen? I have 2 million in the bank. What would you do?
Well, I think I'd keep Vardy because, as we see, I think he's going to be fit and he always scores against Arsenal. I'd actually sell Armstrong in this situation. I know Christensen's got a bit of a doubt, but I think if he doesn't start, then hopefully you should have a good bench because a lot of FPL managers have been moving towards that. I just don't think Armstrong, even if Bro just not 100%. I think Armstrong's not been in great form recently, so I would sell Armstrong, especially because Southampton, they've not been full of goals, even if it is a good fixture against Watford.
That's interesting. What did you do, Ben, in that situation? Who would you take? I think Vardy's a keep, considering he's fit now.
Yeah, Vardy's a keep for me. I think Christensen's a keep. See, I don't know because Broga.
Shall I throw a little different twist in there?
Go for it.
I would take out Christensen and I'd get either Chilwell or James. I think Armstrong's a fire you could probably put out later down the line. I think there's potential for him to play this weekend.
Definitely.
Whereas Christensen, he's got toothache, is why last time I heard. So whether he plays,
he's back in training. He's back in training.
I mean,
that's all I know.
Toothache sounds like a bad excuse of an injury, really, but exactly. I don't know.
It's a very Christensen injury, though, is what I'm thinking. So I think I'd go for the upside with Chilwell, James. They've got Newcastle, Burnley in their next 2 years, attacking the fixtures. It is sort of sideways, but I think it's like bringing in a Chelsea attacker for a Chelsea defender, doing Christensen to Chilwell or James. Like, they play so high up. They're the main source of Chelsea's goals. I think that is the smart move. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Someone like Azpilicueta as well. If anyone's got Azpilicueta and they're thinking, should I just make the sideways move to Chilwell or Reece James? It's not a lot of difference in that because with Azpilicueta he's got goals and assists in him. But if he's with an injury doubt, we don't know if Azpilicueta is going to play. But I certainly would back selling Christensen just because I just don't think that he's not got as much attacking threat as the other Chelsea options.
Awesome. Right, we'll move on to the next question. The best 4.5 million defender. I'm going to rule out Livramento because I think that's obvious to a lot of people that he's the number one, isn't he, to go to. So anyone other than Livramento that you guys are looking at maybe for the next few fixtures?
Shall I go first?
Yeah, go for it, mate.
Yeah, right. I'm not ready.
It's a tough one because you see with Livramento, his price has now gone up, and actually a lot of players like from the Wolves defence, now they've not looked that defensively solid. So it's a bit of a bold one, and he's not been brilliant recently, but I'm going to go with Shane Duffy. I know the fixtures aren't great, but, at least he did get a rest in the last week so that you'd see maybe he plays more matches now, and actually he's still got goal threat when Brighton swing in those crosses. So, yeah, it's not great fixtures, but for long term, I still think Shane Duffy does provide great value.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, you've looked at it as a rest. Is it going to be a rest or maybe a little bit more? We'll have to wait and see with that. I think he's a great option, though, when he does play. Like you mentioned, his attacking threat from corners. I think he's outshone Lewis Dunk really this season. He's usually the main man to get those goals, but he's got him ahead of him. Ben, have you picked anyone now?
I'm going to go for a big differential. I'm going to go Tyrick Mitchell of Crystal Palace. I think that things are just about to click for Crystal Palace. We've seen over the past few game weeks since that Liverpool defeat, they've had good results against sort of Brighton, Leicester and Arsenal, who are very decent teams, and he's getting some sort of attacking returns as well, as we saw in a Newcastle game. So with their fixture after the City game, obviously they've got Wolves, Burnley, Villa and Leeds in their next sort of 4 fixtures. So I think that's quite a nice fixture run. He's a bit differential as well. So if you're like already got in Livramento or Duffy or whoever and looking for a 4.5 million option to fill up, I think Tyrick Mitchell is the way to go forwards. But I also think at this point in FPL, it's only really worth having one player at that price point and to kind of go bigger at the back anyway. So I probably would try and avoid having another 4.5 other than Livramento.
Yeah, that's good advice. I think for me, I'd look at Brentford, especially for like the short term as well. Their fixtures right now: Burnley, Norwich, Newcastle, Everton, Tottenham, Leeds, Watford in their next 7. Probably one of the best runs. They're defensively, obviously they've lost Raya. That could be a big issue, but I think someone like Rico Henry, I think he's still down under 4.5. I brought him in last week. He didn't do anything for me, but maybe in the future he can do something for you. So another question: when are you looking to use your free hit? A question we get a lot over on TikTok. I think a lot of players who aren't really engrossed into like FPL Twitter like us three are, wouldn't really understand like when to save it for and stuff like that. When are you looking to use your free hit, Roberto?
Well, for me, it's always going to be in a blank game week, or unless I've got a really awful team that I just need to kind of like have a week off kind of thing, and then I sort out the issues the next week. But yeah, generally I think it would be a silly move to use it in a week that's not a blank game week, because most of the time you're going to have a strong team that you're going to want to bring back. You're not going to, free hit a team out that's going to be strong unless you've got really good fixtures the week after. So yeah, I would go with the blank game week.
Yeah, I think like seasons before I was playing on Twitter and stuff like that, I think I free hitted one week and the team that I free hitted from scored more than my free hit team. So it's another reason why not to do it. And I think the blank game week, like you mentioned, some teams will blank, obviously, when they get into Carabao Cup final and stuff like that, FA Cup later round draws. So later in the season, you'll see a few blank game weeks. One last question we'll finish on. We'll go to Malamir again. Should he take a -8? We're going as Peter Mitchell, Gallagher to Mbuemo, and Rafinha to Foden. Interesting question. Obviously, a big hit as well. Ben, we'll come to you first. What would you do in that situation?
My personal opinion and mantra this season is to avoid taking hits at all costs, because for me, I never find that it's worth it. I think there's every possibility in this situation that Azpilicueta outscores Mitchell this week. There's every possibility that Rafinha, is fit for this week and scores some points. So I would try and look to minimise the hits as much as possible. And maybe if Rafinha isn't fit, maybe transfer him out. If you've got a bit of money, you could probably upgrade to a Bernardo, maybe. If you've not got the money in the bank, maybe you could downgrade to someone maybe at that £5.6 million bracket where we've seen some value come about. So for me, I would avoid taking hits at all costs.
Well, are you similar or different to that opinion?
Well, I don't like taking hits either, really. But I think with some of these moves, there's sense in it. I see where there's kind of their thought process is. But I think Gallagher, you got to be patient with. He's not looked great recently, but the fixtures are coming up with that nice Palace fixture swing. And Rafinha, as you mentioned, could equally start this week, despite what we're saying. So I think Foden is a good option. Like, you don't need to break your team to get him in. But if you've got the money, then to go for it. So I'd try and get Foden in ideally for less than a -8, but if not, then I'd just leave it as it is, because I think the players you've got instead of those transfer moves in are looking pretty solid for this week.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both the boys' advice. So yes, that wraps up Game Week 10 preview. Can you believe there's been 10 game weeks already, Ben?
Yeah, it's absolutely mental that, we're already 10 game weeks in. The season is shaping up nicely for both of us at the moment. Pretty good ranks, to say the least, at the moment. We want to thank you guys all for watching. We want to thank Roberto as well. Thank you for coming on the Game Week 10 preview. We hope you enjoyed your time on, and you are the new champ for this season.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, all his links will be in the description below. So make sure you go and check him out on Twitter and YouTube and all that good stuff. Also, me and Ben, as we mentioned earlier, playing in the Content Creators Cup. I think it's live from 1:30. Is that correct, Ben?
Yeah, it's all live streamed on YouTube on the Content Creators Cup. We'll be sharing it all over the gaff on our social medias about where you can watch it if you can't make it in person. And if you can, please remember to donate. It's all to a good cause, to Cancer Research UK. And as per usual, please remember to like, comment and subscribe. And I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And I've been Roberto.
Yeah, he loves it.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.